2024 has been a long and emotional year. We laughed, we cried, we found out the Diddy conspiracies were actually true, and that he likes buying baby oil in bulk.
You ever been mindfucked before?
I don't think so.
I'm mindfucking you right now.
But an uneventful year is a boring year, and very few have had an eventful year like Twitch has. Over the past year, Twitch has engaged in some pretty irresponsible behavior, specifically in terms of biased TOS moderation. Inconsistencies in moderation is an issue that Twitch has had for a long time. The issue now is that due to Twitch's bias towards certain streamers, they've essentially given them a green light to continue breaking TOS and engaging in some pretty cuckoo bananas behavior.
U.S. military? Who fucking who? I hope you get PTSD. I hope you get PTSD. And I hope you get no health insurance when you get back into fucking America.
Dude, we think the Houthis, Ansar Allah, is doing what Luffy would do. You should tell him that.
These people are not your allies. They are not the same as us. They come from an inferior culture.
Al-Qaeda is designated as a terror group. Hamas is designated as a terror group. Hezbollah is designated as a terror group because that is a socio-political construct that is applied to America's enemies.
$30K to anyone who'll make this dipshit disappear and make Eve's breasts bigger.
Huh? Shit like this is what led to what some people are referring to as Twitch's Adpocalypse. So grab onto my pockets and hold on tight as I walk you through a timeline of events that I believe were important to understanding how a company like Twitch could find a way to fuck up their reputation so hard in just 1 year. But before we begin, please don't forget to like and subscribe. That lets the algorithm know that my content is dope as fuck, which in turn motivates the algorithm to spread my video to the masses to psychically transfer scripture from the one true demiurge, Mudang. So yeah, I'd really appreciate it. Now back to the video.
I've been very active in terms of being out there with the community.
It's been almost a year since Dan Clancy became the CEO of Twitch, and with the rollout of improvements to Twitch's mobile app, promises to increase creator revenue, and it being an election year, 2024 seemed to be a promising year for Twitch. Although, it is important to mention that Twitch started the year by laying off about 500 of their employees. Clancy said this was due to there being too many employees for the size of the company, which is fair, I guess. If you're trying to improve the company and help it grow, it doesn't really make sense to spend money paying more employees than you would need.
You're fired.
This was supposed to be a decision for the good of the company. Instead, over the past couple months alone, we've been finding out that the leadership over at Twitch is not only incompetent, but also supportive of a pro-extremist and anti-Semitic culture that seems to be prevalent within the company. But before we get to that, let's check out this year's honorable mentions, which starts with the Dr. Disrespect story. For those of you who don't know, Dr. Disrespect was a very popular Twitch streamer who came up playing battle royale games like PUBG, except he would do it while dressed up like a much manlier version of himself, with a pedo stash. Basically, the story goes that Twitch banned the doc permanently from their platform back in 2020, and Twitch never really gave a reason for the ban. I mean, Twitch usually doesn't tell you exactly what you did, so it wasn't that sussy baka, except that there seemed to be no reason why the doc would be banned, at least from what we could see happening live. So for years, people would speculate, but there never really seemed to be a definitive answer. Was it the Shungite? Well, on June 22nd, 2024, Cody Connors, a former employee from Twitch, drops this banger of a tweet. He got banned because he got caught sexting a minor in the then existing Twitch Whispers product. He was trying to meet up with her at TwitchCon. The powers that be could read this in plain text. Case closed, gang. Without even mentioning his name, immediately people suspected that Doc was who he was referring to. And with further mounting pressure and accusations thrown at the Doc, he just said, "Hey, it's not me," and decided to lay low.
Psych! Gotcha, bitch!
What he did instead was tweet about it. Because of course he would. In this statement, the Doc says, "Let's cut the fucking bullshit. As you know, there's no filter with me. I've been upfront with you guys and real with you guys on anything that I can be upfront about. I'm always willing to accept responsibility, which is why I'm here now." Hey, that's great. I mean, good for you. First and foremost, I do want to apologize to everyone in the community, yada yada. A lot of people have been left in the dark about what happened, yada yada. Everyone's been wanting to know why, yada yada. And here he basically says, were there Twitch whisper messages with an individual minor back in 2017? The answer is yes. Were there real intentions behind these messages? The answer is absolutely not. These were casual, mutual conversations that sometimes leaned too much in the direction of being inappropriate, but nothing more. Nothing illegal happened, no pictures were shared, no crimes were committed. I never even met with the individual. I went through a lengthy arbitration regarding a civil dispute with Twitch, and that case was resolved by a settlement. Let me be clear, it was not a criminal case against me, and no criminal charges have ever been brought against me. Wow. Now this statement is crazy as fuck. But what was really pathetic is the fact that this fucking old head edited the tweet to remove the word minor from the part where it says an individual minor, thinking that people wouldn't be able to see the old version or that they wouldn't notice. Then, I think once he realized his goose was cooked, he changed the tweet back to the original, which included the word
A minor.
The worst part of all of this, in my opinion, is how Twitch handled the situation. Many people have complained in the past about getting banned without a specific reason for the ban, unless the actions were obvious. But if there were ever a reason for Twitch to be open about why they banned a creator, I think it would probably be when you find out that one of your biggest creators might be an alleged child predator. Instead, Doc went on to have a 4-year career streaming on YouTube, where he could potentially continue the same alleged behavior. But hey, I get it. Lawyers had to get involved. There might have been some NDAs, so I get that companies like Twitch will always look out for their own best interests and safety instead of, protecting the users on their platform from their own streamers. The other honorable mention, which is my personal favorite, involves the CEO of Twitch, Dan Clancy. Earlier this year, during a demonstration of the new features in the mobile Twitch app, we got a glimpse into what the CEO's algorithm looks like, and let me tell you, this man is a devious motherfucker. His feed looks like it's just all women and hot tub streamers. Streamers who are all on Twitch, by the ways. Months later, there was another demonstration, in which we were given another glimpse into Clancy's goon cave.
The clips are, and that's not necessarily the algorithm.
But the weirdest thing to come from this was that some fellow knob twisters found some accounts on some porn sites that may allegedly belong to Dan Clancy. Of course, one of the only pieces of evidence is the fact that these accounts all literally have his username, and apparently, when you try to make an account, it tells you that his email is already taken. Also, one of the saved videos on his profiles is of Mia Malkova, who streams on Twitch. Now, apparently all of these profiles were made a long time ago, so if someone were to try to impersonate Dan Clancy to try to frame him, this would be a very interesting long con that would require some time travel. All I know is that this saved video titled Barely Legal Teen is just downright fucking vile. I feel like the implication here is that this makes you a barely legal pedophile. So, regardless of whose account this really is, let's get 3 Hail Marys in the comments for this sick coomer. Now, for the main course, which is the worst criticism of Twitch this year, in my opinion. The allegations are that Twitch has allowed unchecked anti-Semitic rhetoric to be pushed on their platform, along with extremist and terrorist propaganda. To understand all this, let's go back a little further in time, because there's an important detail that is very relevant to this story, which is the attacks of October 7th. Obviously, there's a lot of contention and discourse regarding October 7th because some condemn the violence of Hamas while some champion it. But pretty soon what became the focus was Israel's retaliation on the Gaza Strip and the diabolical response that Benjamin Netanyahu and his cabinet had to the attacks. I'm not going to go into full detail around this event, but links will be provided in the description below if you're interested. I suggest you check them out. What you do need to know is that after Israel began its assault on Gaza, some people got too comfortable justifying the attacks and cheering on groups that want Israel destroyed.
They do musicals. They're very musical people.
Are you being serious?
Dog, what do you look? You think I made this?
This isn't music. I know they're singing, but I'm seeing just guns and shoot. This isn't a music video, Hasan.
No, it is. They do musicals about like their fucking like their actions all the time. And they love walking over. They love walking over like the American flag and the Israeli flag side by side. They will always like march on it. I'm surprised they haven't done it yet.
And they get away with this morality washing of terrorist groups as long as they do it under the guise of advocating for Palestinian freedom. And eventually, this led to any conversation about the topic to test positive for literal HIV. AIDS. As we now live in a world where there are financial incentives for people online to push the most extreme and unhinged rhetoric to already existing groups that want to hear it. And in this case, anyone who disagrees with it at all, even in the slightest, and does not pass their purity test, is labeled a Zionist or an Islamophobe or somebody who hates Arabs.
You fucking baying pig! You fucking bloodthirsty, violent pig dog!
There is, however, one unhinged take that may be the major catalyst responsible for finally putting a spotlight on Twitch, which came from the very empathetic and culturally aware Asmongold.
Oh, I'm not going to cry a fucking river when people who have genocide that's baked into their laws are getting genocided. I don't give a fuck. They're terrible people. It's not even a question. It's crazy that people don't see it that way. These people are not your allies. They are not the same as us. They come from an inferior culture that is horrible. It kills people for their identity, and it is directly antithetical to everything Western values stand for, and it is an inferior culture in all ways.
Yikes. I hear this kind of shit hits a lot harder in German. Following this response, Asmongold faced obvious backlash, including being banned from Twitch for 2 weeks, and even ended up stepping down from OTK and Starforge systems. After a take like that, the response is well deserved. As a content creator with such a huge platform and influence, you are responsible for the example you set for your audience. Asmongold eventually put out a public apology, as most content creators do when they're in hot water.
Fart joke.
But it seems like Asmongold was at least sincere in trying to make some much needed life changes, like cleaning his room, a room that's famous for looking like it's from an episode of TLC's Hoarders. Regardless of whether you think Asmongold is being sincere, I think it's important to remind everyone of the importance of holding each other accountable. If Asmongold went unpunished, it would have set an even worse example for his audience. They would feel emboldened to parrot his hateful rhetoric under the assumption that there would be no consequences. This is standard operating conditioning, where you introduce a punishment and a reward to modify behavior, like dealing with children. A reward is presented when they engage in good behavior, and a punishment is introduced to eliminate any bad behavior. It feels a little silly having to do this with motherfuckers who are pushing 40, but in the online content creation space, 40 is the new 21.
21. Fuck you.
Now, while Asmongold was off getting his life together, shit started to really hit the fan when Hasan Piker's former co-host Ethan Klein decided to call out Hasan's insane content and rhetoric, as well as his audience's harassment campaign against Ethan and his wife Hila. This all started a year ago after October 7th happened, when Ethan and Hasan were co-hosting a politics show together called Leftovers. For context, Ethan met his wife Hila while visiting Israel. They began their YouTube career while living in Israel for a short period of time. Hila even served in the IDF because in Israel, they have mandatory service for anyone over the age of 18. But despite being outspoken against the actions of the Israeli government for years prior to October 7th, Hasan's audience pretty quickly turned on Ethan and Hila. Of course, there were some disagreements between Ethan and Hasan, especially in terms of whether a one-state solution or a two-state solution is better, or whether babies should be considered settlers. But this was enough for Hasan's audience to turn on them and spend the next year spreading lies about them being Zionists, Islamophobes, Nazis, attempting to dox and harass employees of their company Teddy Fresh, even creating an animation where Hila goes around killing Palestinians. Now listen, as someone who has spent countless hours working on a 1-minute animation, I understand that it takes a certain level of psychopathy to create something like that. But this behavior from Hasan's audience makes sense once you understand where it comes from. Like young children imitating their daddies, they're just behaving the same way Hasan does whenever anyone disagrees with him.
I think the Israeli state was just like peacefully coexisting, and then these guys came in with fucking gliders out of nowhere. Don't say fuck off, dude. They didn't deserve it, you fucking idiot. My goal is solutions. Your goal is the continuation of violence. You want way more than 260 people dying. You want every single Palestinian to be fucking executed ruthlessly in the streets so that you can build another fucking theme park in Gaza. You fucking baying pig. You fucking bloodthirsty, violent pig dog.
Eventually, Ethan seemed to have had enough and decided to speak out against Hasan, but mostly against Twitch's obvious biased moderation. While Asmongold received a much-deserved ban, other creators like Hasan are allowed to openly break TOS.
I know I'm not one to hold someone responsible for what their fans do, as you probably know that, our audience does crazy shit. However, I do think that while you tell everybody to, leave me alone or whatever it is you say, that's your rhetoric, your tone, the way you carry yourself on this topic is the reason why I'm being harassed by so many people online, a large part of your audience.
In this, Ethan mentions the fact that other streamers in Hasan's orbit are perpetuating this idea that he's Islamophobic or against Palestinians by comparing him to people like Asmongold.
Very good. And again, I'd also like to wonder, what the fuck is it exactly I've said or done to belong in this image? I know what you're saying, right? What have I done? I continually ask myself, why am I being held up with these group of people?
But mostly, Ethan focuses on Hasan's Houthi interview, where Hasan brings on a young Houthi pirate who got famous on TikTok by mogging the other pirates while raiding ships and taking hostages.
Here he is, singing a little ditty on TikTok that goes, "Do you threaten us with what we are waiting for, son of a Jew?" Nice little ditty there. Once again, clearly making a healthy distinction between Jews and Israelis. Saying statements like this, he essentially covers for him and acts like ignorant.
Chinese people, but one of the captain was Chinese, and he did clout with them, and he danced to music with them, and he was vibing, so he likes them. Yeah.
So I mean, what?
Yes, he just admitted to being a terrorist who's hanging out with hostages. That's literally just what happened, and his son knows it. That's why he's laughing out and trying to deflect.
That's so crazy.
Yes, it is.
So they're just chilling with the captains. Like, I don't understand.
You don't understand? Do you think anyone would just get access to hang out with these hostages? Why would he be hanging out with hostages? I don't know. But Hasan does a good way of deflecting it and being like, oh, no, this is just funny, silly stuff. You know what I mean? They are taking boats indiscriminately. Another talk about you hear about these terrorists is that they're only targeting Israeli-controlled ships affiliated with Israel. In fact, Houthis are taking boats indiscriminately. They are terrorizing the entire sea there. And once again, a huge number of these ships have nothing to do with Israel. The Houthis have decided to start arbitrarily kidnapping people who are there to help the humanitarian crisis. They're charity workers. And once again, just like the hostages, they're kind of just disappeared. They don't know where they are, what's happened to them, if they're dead, if they're alive, if they're safe. They just kind of took them, and that's that.
Hasan later compares this brave young pirate to Anne Frank, which is just classic subliminal Holocaust revisionism.
From Yemen, okay, who everyone called, myself included, called Tim Houthi Charlemagne, or Chalamet.
Is that the One Piece one?
Yeah, exactly. Now this kid is like, he was like 19 at the time when I talked to him, which means that for most of his life, he has withstood, right? Sure. But he is a person whose only experience is it's literally like talking to fucking Anne Frank, basically, okay? Being able to talk to Anne Frank.
During this interview, Hasan would go on to praise the guy's actions and compare him to Monkey D. Luffy.
Dude, we think the Houthis, Ansar Allah, is doing what Luffy would do. You should tell him that.
Ethan also focuses on Hasan's praise of other terrorist groups like Hezbollah.
He's the leader of Hezbollah, the general secretary of Hezbollah.
What's Hezbollah?
Hezbollah
is that small guy?
Hezbollah is this is the same name.
Okay.
Hezbollah is a paramilitary organization that is also a part of the Lebanese parliament.
Do we like them or no?
I think as a resistance group, they're pretty successful against Israel. But everybody hates them. Like everybody in the region, a lot of people don't like them. Like,
I like what you like.
I don't have an issue with them, let's just say.
As well as introducing his guests to terrorist propaganda musicals.
So he introduces it as a fun Houthi musical.
Musically gifted individuals.
Yeah. Okay, I'm sorry.
We do not care. We do not care. Make it a major world war. Great. Good messaging. Shooting, their heart longs for master rifles and assault rifles. Very good. Very cool. He gets up and leaves his poor friend there in the trenches, taking Houthi terrorism propaganda to the dome.
Listen, praising the violent actions of terrorists in front of your young, impressionable audience is bad enough, but what makes this even worse is the messaging and the rhetoric behind some of these groups. Like the Houthi flag, which displays their slogan, which says, God is the greatest, death to America, death to Israel, a curse upon the Jews, victory to Islam, or Hezbollah, whose primary goal is the total destruction of Israel. These streamers will mainline propaganda from these groups to their young, impressionable audience by fetishizing their struggle and justifying their actions, like on October 7th. And they're successful because streamers, like Hasan, have already spent years priming them to hate America, as well as any American ally.
America deserved 9/11, dude. Fuck it. I'm saying it.
We're there
in a video game.
And
Like, I see NATO as a protection racket, but that doesn't mean that there isn't a bad guy out there, right? Like the mafia comes to your door and says, like, listen, your storefront could break down if you don't get this protection from us. But that doesn't mean that there isn't another competing group of criminals out there that could actually fuck up your storefront. He's saying that, like, Arabs that wanted to collaborate with America basically said, no, you don't understand. It's actually the Israeli lobby that dominates. It's actually the Jews that dominate America.
Biden.
I mean, I also don't disagree with what he's saying. I often will talk about, obviously, AIPAC and the Zionist lobby.
And another of Ethan's criticisms is how malicious Hasan is willing to get with this propaganda.
Hasan denying rapes on October 7th.
October 7th, 1,200 people were massacred. Many young people who were simply attending a music festival.
Objectively true.
Women were horribly raped.
Now, when she says women were horribly raped, you'll notice Hasan bows his head with a giggle. He's smart enough not to outright say they're lying, but he's signaling to his audience quite clearly, I'll say, this is not a dog whistle, it's a dog shout, that he doesn't believe them. And it's echoed in the chat. I mean, you can all see, and I'll show you guys, that the chat turns into a frenzy of calling her a Zionist and a liar.
The violence that may have happened on October 7, and certainly there was plenty of it, okay, real or exaggerated does not matter, does not justify genocide of Palestinians, okay? He tried to make it seem like I was pro-sexual violence or that I was denying Hamas rapes happening or something like that, whereas I never said that rapes had not happened on October 7.
What rapes did Hezbollah do? Bro, what rapes did Hamas do? What are you talking about? Like, there is one instance in captivity that we have actually gotten verifiable evidence on. Beyond that, the systematized mass rapes that Hamas dealt on October 7, not a single bit of that has been verified. And people still run with it over and over and over again. Meanwhile, we know Israel has done it.
Doesn't matter if fucking rapes happen on October 7. Like, that doesn't change the dynamic for me even this much. So that's the other part of this problem that many people can't contend with. Like,
now, luckily, this seemed to be productive because Hasan immediately reacted to Ethan's criticisms of him, which led them to have a very fruitful discussion about it.
Psych! Gotcha, bitch!
Not only did Hasan not even care to find out what the criticisms were, but he just made up why Ethan was criticizing him, pushing a narrative that Ethan is upset because he hates Arabs, even reposting a TikTok where someone is claiming that Ethan hates Arabs.
And one more thing. The attempted cancellation of Hasan Piker is so insanely racist. Ethan Klein, who I used to like Ethan Klein, no more, and Destiny have been on a crusade to try to ban Hasan from Twitch, which is so insane on so many levels. But the reason why they're doing it, really, is because he's Muslim. Now, and by that I mean, like, people associate him with being Muslim. I don't think he actually even is Muslim. I don't think he practices a religion. But white people just look at, like, a brown person and go Muslim. Arab. I don't think Turkish people are Arab, by the way, but whatever.
Huh? Despite Twitch never really responding to any of the criticisms, one of the actions they did take was banning the Houthi pirate from Twitch, because apparently he was streaming on Twitch. But not long after, they unbanned the Houthi pirate, so you could tell that Twitch was probably scrambling behind the scenes, not knowing how to respond. And with all eyes on Twitch, Now plenty of clips started to circulate of streamers saying insane shit, clearly breaking TOS, but not suffering any consequences, like streamer Frogan.
I have no pity at all for any fucking soldiers. Distress, thank you so much. I will never have any fucking pity for any fucking soldiers. The U.S. military? Who fucking who? I hope you get PTSD. I do the ones I'm like whatever about the U.S. soldiers are the ones that like acknowledge that like what they did was wrong. They didn't know back then. Whatever. You're a good person in my book. Oh my god, Tom, thank you so much for the 10 gifted. The U.S. military that are like, yeah, like, you know, I did this back then, but now I know it's wrong. Like, I'm changed. Like, fuck imperialism. Fuck this. You don't deserve the PTSD. But like any other motherfucker, you're doing them. You're like, oh my god, I want my fucking Camaro, no student loans. Fuck you. I hope you get PTSD. And I hope you get no health insurance when you get back into fucking America.
Damn, okay. Well, okay. If I'm being generous, everyone's allowed one gamer moment.
Okay? 6250. 9/11 baking stream with Raph and Capri. If we get to this goal by 9/11, Capri, Raph, and I will make the Twin Towers out of a stacked cake. And we'll make an airplane. And we'll recreate 9/11.
Oh, okay, that's bad. Eventually, people came across a VOD of Frogan and some other creators hosting a TwitchCon panel where they made a tier list with Arab at the top and Love Sabra at the bottom. Sabra is an Israeli-owned hummus company, so many argue that this was anti-Semitic and that it was basically an Arab to Jew tier list.
He's Arab. Lebanese, like yeah. Arab.
Woohoo!
I saw that one.
This is not.
This is good.
I thought we
Go
decided.
ahead.
Okay.
The next person is one of my favorite people, Ethan Klein.
I told you guys to clap.
This is a good reaction.
That was a good one. That's good. All right, turn that up. Turn giraffe.
We all know where this is going.
Okay. I'm like, I'm getting audience input. They're like, you know, fuck what you guys had to say.
Where's the? You guys are missing a category for Zionist. That was a joke. That was just a joke in my.
Stand up. Well, obviously it's Love Sabra, right?
Yeah, it has to
that's
be.
easy. That's definitely Love Sabra.
Now, these creators claim that it had nothing to do with Jews and that they just think Sabra hummus is ass. Now, I think it's pretty obvious because, especially in the context of Arab being on top compared to an Israeli food at the bottom, if they were talking about shitty hummus, then why is Arab at the top and not a good hummus?
Yes. What? You don't say. You don't say. You don't say.
Regardless of whether you think it was an Arab to Jew tier list or not, obviously the optics of this are terrible, especially when these creators are being accused of spreading anti-Semitic rhetoric. What's even crazier is that this panel was supposedly vetted and approved by Twitch, who decided it was okay to do this with logos of their sponsors in the background. Sponsors like Chevron, who are part of the Israeli boycott, by the ways, which totally undermines this perception they're trying to give that what they're doing is criticizing Israel and not Jews. This is when Dan Saltman, CEO of Redact.dev and co-host of Anything Else, decided to get involved, as he too had been focusing on the biased moderation at Twitch, even promoting a website called DanClancySucks.com, the purpose of which was to provide evidence that Dan Clancy sucks and that he's allowing anti-Semitism to spread on the platform.
Hey, good evening. I wish I had something a little bit more fun to talk about than this, but I don't, unfortunately. This is like a really sad situation that I'm forced to talk about here. It's been pretty apparent that Twitch has been ideologically controlled by a certain element, which is the far left. And as a result of that far left ideological bent, you see things that are kind of crazy. You see people reading terrorist manifestos and not getting punished, or only getting punished after a huge outcry. You see people putting on actual terrorist propaganda videos and nothing happening to them. You see actual terrorists streaming on the site, you report them, and nothing happens to them. So there was an official TwitchCon event where we had Jews being ranked on the bottom. You had Ben Shapiro and Ethan Klein at the bottom, and at the top you had Arabs. And then one of the contestants even said, "Oh, I wish we had a tier lower called Zionists." It's so apparent what was going on. The anti-Semitism is actually, it was seething. And this was an officially created TwitchCon event that this happened.
But more importantly, he emphasized that Dan Clancy needs to step down as CEO right the fuck now.
Dan Clancy, step the fuck down, you piece of anti-Semitic shit.
And even if these streamers had endless excuses for all these criticisms, it started to become very clear that something fishier than week-old underwear was going on at Twitch. On October 19th, 2024, a user posted to the Our Destiny subreddit that Twitch had disabled account creation from users in Israel. This was disabled not only for Israelis, but also Palestinians following the attacks of October 7th. They just quietly banned an entire region from signing up and left it that way until this was finally called out.
On October 13th of 2023, on the day of the global day of jihad, Twitch put into place a ban. They said that this ban was specifically for the regions of Israel and Palestine, and it was only going to be for email signups. The first thing to note is that if you attempted to create an email account, or if you attempted to create a new Twitch account after this ban went into place, you would get a cryptic message. It would not say, sorry, you're banned because you're in Israel. It would say, sorry, an error has occurred. Now, if you open developer mode in your browser and you went through the console and you're kind of a computer hacker, so to speak, you would be able to find out that the actual error says banned country. What you have here now is that Twitch silently put this ban into place. They didn't tell all of the Israeli creators, hey guys, by the way, just so you guys know, we're going ahead and we're banning new signups from Israel. You know, I hope that's okay. Just wanted to let you know, you might not have that many new people paying you because no one can create a new account, but just a heads up, they didn't do that. They were completely silent on it.
It's even alleged that users in Israel had been contacting Twitch support and either receiving no response or having their support tickets closed.
The next thing that's even more disgusting is why is it that when these Israeli users put in tickets saying, hey, when I say put in tickets, I mean emailed into Twitch support, like support at twitch.tv or whatever, and they said, hey, I can't create an account, what's going on? Do you know what they responded with? They responded with, sorry, you're not eligible at this time. They didn't say, hey, oh, by the way, you just have to use your phone, which isn't going to work anyways. They told you, sorry, you're not eligible. That's the first thing. Why was the error message cryptic in the first place? Why not say, hey, sorry, we've currently banned people from your region? Why that? Are you trying to hide it and make it feel it's their fault? I mean, that's pretty fucked up as well. So the email tickets were pretty deceiving. Then if you went to user voice, which is kind of like a support system that they can run on their website and did it, and you put in a ticket on those things, they would delete it. So if you put in a thing, hey, I can't register an account, they would delete it and hide it. They go to Reddit and they say, hey, why is Israel banned? The whole thread and every comment gets deleted by the moderators. Why is that? Why would you do that? Isn't this something that should be known? Are these moderators of this subreddit like so biased that it's such a disgusting off-topic thing? How could you ask about Israel being banned? Totally off-topic banned.
An Israeli streamer even tweeted out about this back in May, but nothing was ever done about it. And honestly, this whole thing just seemed to fly under everyone's radar. Twitch put out a statement addressing this. They claimed that they only disabled signups using email verification and that they only did this to prevent upload of graphic material. They claimed that they just forgot to re-enable signups. They also addressed concerns that their guidelines don't apply to everyone streaming on the platform, by straight up lying and saying that they do. But that's not the only lie in the statement, as it was even community noted to point out that both email and phone verifications were disabled. And this doesn't even make any sense, because even if they did disable email verification, then whoever wanted to upload graphic content could still sign up through their phone verification. Also, this isn't a rule that they've applied to any other region, including Ukraine and Russia. But things didn't stop there. It seems that Twitch wasn't really interested in trying to beat the anti-Semite allegations, considering that back in June they decided to unban Sneako, a streamer who was banned from their platform for 2 years. Sneako's been a pretty controversial figure in the past couple years, but in the past year alone he's decided to do a hard pivot into using his platform to push Nazi talking points and Holocaust denial.
I'm not saying it like it didn't happen. I'm just saying, why did they have wooden doors in the gas chambers?
What?
Why were there wooden doors in a gas chamber?
I don't know.
How do you fit 6 million people in a gas chamber?
Y'all better not, bro.
This is a known tactic for content creators who got famous despite not having any talent or entertaining content. As soon as they start to fall the fuck off, they pivot to parroting talking points at an already existing audience that's willing to support them as long as they push their messaging. This is similar to Fresh and Fit, who were also unbanned on Twitch this year, despite spending the past year leaning hard into the Nazi propaganda content.
Okay, so the clip I showed you, you're dressed up as a like Hasidic Jew talking about the 6 million died in the Holocaust, but you make fun of everyone, so that's fine. So let me go to some of the tweets you made. Nick Fuentes is a nice person. He was a pleasure to have on the show, said Pearl. They hate Nick because he criticizes valid problems in American foreign policy and dem boys. Can you tell me what dem boys means? Tell me what the dem boys things.
Okay, let's go.
The Bolsheviks killed millions of Russians. Who's going to tell them they were dem boys?
Yep, that's a fact.
Yeah, and then you say, this one is real interesting. You say the movie Europa is the most based documentary.
Yep.
Can I read a synopsis of that film? Here's the synopsis of the film, and then correct it where it's wrong. The film promotes various anti-Semitic conspiracies claiming that communism was created by Jews with the goal of total world domination, and that Jews control the world's money supply and are conspiring to engineer the downfall of white race by encouraging immigration and interracial relationships. It also engages historical revisionism to claim that Jews started World War I and II as part of a plot to establish Israel by provoking the Nazis into acting in self-defense. The film also claims that Jews caused Germany to defeat in World War I, which is commonly referred to as the stab in the back myth, that Adolf Hitler was fighting against a global Jewish plot. You called that movie most based.
Yeah.
It's very base.
It is very base.
Mad respect to minorities. What the fuck? Stop! What? I want to get another run.
Clearly, these issues seem to all revolve around the moderation team at Twitch, so people did some more digging and found out that the current senior manager at Trust and Safety was suspended from her previous job at a UK-based company, Ofcom, for some anti-Israeli sentiments she expressed mainly on social media. She was also addressed by the UK Prime Minister regarding her comments about Hamas after they attacked Israel.
I'm a liberal. I will vote for a Democratic candidate. I am not a Republican. I do not have any Republican views. But these people are so insane that just because I am a Jew, I'm a Zionist, okay? And keep in mind that 90% of the Jews in the world are Zionist, because the very simple definition of Zionism that all of these guys love to act like isn't the case is that Jews born in Israel should be able to stay and keep living there. So as I'm looking into, okay, so who is in like the official executive team, who is it that's running Trust and Safety? Who are the people that are doing this? And I find one of the top people, I think it's the manager of Trust and Safety or the senior manager of Trust and Safety, their last job, they were in front of Parliament by the Prime Minister, essentially, on television. Well, I don't know if in front of them, but they were certainly called out in front of them for anti-Zionism. They're huge news in the BBC, everything like that. You know where their next job is? I think you know where I'm going with. Senior manager, Trust and Safety, Twitch.tv. Explain that to me, okay, as a Jew. The Trust and Safety Department is a fucking shit show. Your personal beliefs do not trump the fact that you get to shit on an entire nation of people. That's what I would tell you, okay? You don't get to shit on the Jews because it's cool in San Francisco to do it. Fuck you.
Regardless of whether you think she deserved to lose her job over this or not, her hiring is yet another piece of evidence that she could have been contributing to the radical culture within the company, but more specifically, the moderation team. I do, however, think it's important to mention that the IP ban was put in place prior to her working at Twitch, so it's not like she's to blame for all Twitch's problems.
It's not your fault. I know.
Despite all this negative attention, Twitch would not only downplay these issues, but also refuse to hold their favorite streamers accountable. This left Dan Saltman with no choice but to go after Twitch's sponsors, to let them know what kind of content they are running their ads on.
They're advertising Twitch ads now directly on other, this is on Instagram.
Wow,
that's how
that's
fucked
crazy.
they are. We're sending more than one email per minute right now out to advertisers.
Who's we? Is it your team or is it just, do you have like a
The
team?
Jews. The Jews.
Okay, cool.
As a unified front.
Wait,
you know?
why are you sending emails out to advertisers? Sorry,
To
I
get
don't know
them
much at all about this.
Yeah, to get them to abandon Twitch, basically, until they fire Dan Clancy.
Because Dan Clancy
is a coward fuck, and he hates Jews. Is on twitch.com. There we go. It was a www. My bad. We don't have the www set up, but we will soon. That's crazy. All right, first off, this website, just to be clear, is not owned or operated by Twitch. And this site is, well, you know, you don't have to read all that, but it's there.
What's a gripe site?
Don't worry about it. Oh my God, look at all these brands that are here. Oh, which one will it be?
When Hulu Plus Live TV calls upon
Disney.
famous athletes like DK Metcalf to act in their ads, they call upon me.
You should not say Voldemort's name because he will fucking come after you. You should just sit there.
Oh, ew, Voldemort.
And be happy that I'm focused on Dan Clancy and just let me use you as the tool that you are to get to Dan Clancy. I don't give a shit about you. Just sit there and shut the fuck up, do your fucking terrorist propaganda, let me get my regime change underway, and if you're lucky, you'll come out of this thing without any fucking issues, okay? That's what's gonna happen if you're lucky. You keep fucking with me, and I'll show you what I'm about, okay? And what I'm about is effective action in policy and outreach and activism, okay? Did I say activism twice? I think so. You can do a lot with a single fucking email, okay? You can do a lot by being genuine and talking to someone on the phone. These are things that your fans are too afraid to do because they have PTSD about the idea of talking to another person and they have to have like a therapy session about it. I don't. I will call into fucking the brave Mujahideen soldiers, Dan Crenshaw's fucking line. I'll break bread with Dan Crenshaw. I will talk about his lost eye and I will talk about the man who made fun of it.
Oh no! All this noise garnered the attention of some pretty notable people and organizations, including the ADL, a non-government organization that works to fight anti-Semitism, bigotry, and discrimination. Apparently, the ADL reached out to Twitch regarding all these allegations, specifically regarding the TwitchCon panel incident. This led Twitch to finally take action and issuing a 30-day ban to the streamers who took part in the panel. Luckily, these streamers were very understanding of why they were banned, so they apologized and decided to take some time off to do some self-reflection.
Psych! Gotcha, bitch!
They just started making excuses, which is funny, because they didn't even have the forethought to come together and get their story straight. But as of recent, they've decided to drop the facade altogether and just say the quiet part out loud. Like in this interview between Matt Lieb from Good Mythical Morning and Frogan, where they go over her beef with Ethan Klein and her Twitch ban.
At the end of the day, he's like the only answer here. You know, he says 2 states.
And it's like, I think he knows full well that is not going to happen.
Right.
So the only answer here is ethnic cleansing and genocide. And it's him allowing for it, because at the end of the day, and this is not uncommon, it's not just him, but, you know, the value of human life here goes far in favor of the loves Sabra category, if you know what I mean. Like, for him specifically, it's like, you know, it's Jews are the more worthy of the land, you know? Yeah, it's crazy.
In this clip, Matt Lieb is saying that Ethan believes in a two-state solution. But because a two-state solution will not happen, then Ethan is basically advocating for genocide, which is an insane stretch. But he also proves Ethan right by using Jews interchangeably with loves Sabra.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
Another notable figure that became aware of this nonsense going on at Twitch was Representative Ritchie Torres, the US rep for New York's 15th congressional district. Torres took to Twitter to call out Hasan Piker with a clip of Hasan justifying the rapes that happened on October 7th. He also calls out Myron Gaines of Fresh and Fit, who, as mentioned earlier, was unbanned by Twitch. This man goes on to even tweet out about a New York Post article covering Torres' call out of Twitch. Oh, he means business. And you would think that with all this negative coverage, that these streamers would tone it down a bit. But no, like children with shitty parents who allow them to misbehave without any consequences, the behavior only continued.
Democrat says she's undecided because of concerns about anti-Semitism. Beth?
Yes!
Hi, thank you for being here.
Thank you,
Thank
Beth.
you for remembering we need to bring the hostages home. Of course. The rise of anti-Semitism and violence from anti-Semitism has risen greatly on college campuses and on our city streets.
During this stream, he LMFAOs, if you will, because he spotted someone with a Star of David and knew that they were going to ask about the Israeli hostages. And apparently that's funny. Seeing how Hasan is never held accountable, despite constantly breaking TOS, as well as the amount of noise people had to make to have Twitch hold Frogan accountable, this just emboldened other streamers, specifically streamers that Hasan associates with.
He said the N-word on stream with his own face. Can somebody just like, it would just be so easy to just, it would solve all of our problems. Like, we would have socialism now at this point, right? We would have socialism at this point if someone just went out of their way and it would be so easy. This is what happens when you don't kill every single slave owner after slavery. They have children, and their children have children, and their children have children, and their children have accidents that should have ended up on a sock, and it becomes destiny. That's what you get. That's what you get. When you don't murder every single slave owner, every single Ku Klux Klan member, and they have children, and those children have accidents that should have been aborted, you get destiny.
In this clip, streamer Sean the Black explains that a justification for killing slave owners would be to make it so that people like Destiny were never born. This is a callback to another lie spread by Hasan's community. You see, Hasan does this thing where he'll do all sorts of mental gymnastics to relabel a specific race of people as white, to justify saying whatever racist shit he wants to say. In this case, it's spreading the idea that Destiny's family comes from a long line of slave owners in Cuba. They then use this as a justification to use gusano as a slur towards Destiny. This word means worm in Spanish, but typically it's used as a derogatory term towards Cubans who fled Cuba following the rise of Fidel Castro after the Cuban Revolution. What makes this even more fucked up is the fact that Destiny's only connection to Cuba is being half Cuban on his mom's side. Hasan has been known to do this kind of stuff when speaking about Polish people.
I mean, he's Polish, so obviously he doesn't know how to do math, so that's probably why that happened. Speaking of very stupid, Poland. A Polish man figured out how to work a fire extinguisher? You're really gonna fucking act like that's not impressive?
He calls Orthodox Jews inbred.
Mentalist, white supremacist guy you've ever thought of. Like, think about it. Close your eyes and think about that guy, okay? Eyes looking in different directions, okay? That's why I always personally bring up the West Bank. Because the way that the Israeli occupying force and the Israeli government has conducted itself in the West Bank is something that even Americans can understand as unconscionable. Because it is literally the Jewish KKK brigades out there, just a bunch of fucking inbred hicks, literally doing pogroms to the Arab population and kicking them out deliberately from their ancestral homes. Now, instead of that guy being Christian, imagine if that guy was Jewish. A couple months in after October 7, every week there was another fucking psychopathic settler, inbred fucking douchebag wearing fucking military fatigues, shooting another Israeli dude because he thought, oh, I thought he was a terrorist.
On the way out, a pro-Hamas mob started chasing us
calling us in the middle of campus, calling us inbred, that we have no culture. One of them grabbed my friend's Israeli.
Oh, these inbred fucking douchebags in the background, dude.
Like, I don't understand why this is okay.
And, as of recently, the reach of his racism has extended to Asians, like Koreans.
Korean men are such fucking insane incels for the most part. It is kind of fascinating, but it's also kind of terrifying at the same time, because like a lot of people are fantasizing about doing that here, like the 4B shit. I do think that like our level of misogyny, while pretty aggressive, is still nowhere near like Korean levels of misogyny. I think like the average Korean incel or the average Korean man has like Nick Fuentes level misogyny. If I were to tier list misogyny, I would say like you have the regular misogyny of like haha get to the kitchen, or you know women can't lead, the like that level of misogyny, right, which is super fucking normalized. Okay, that's an Orientalist stereotype. What the fuck? Maybe. Well, we'll do more of an investigation, but
Another Twitch streamer who works hard to get the attention of their streamer daddy by behaving like him is Central Committee, who is also aware of Hasan's long-standing beef with Destiny. So, to bump up his social credit score within his and Hasan's community, he decides to jump on the Destiny hate train and appeals to the exact kind of rhetoric Hasan has primed their audience for.
Like cowering and running away and screaming in fear. There's like, okay, well, they did it. We got our shots. Okay, is this guy done? Oh, shit. Well, okay. Well, we brought the
It's
white.
called shock, you fucking idiot. It's called shock. Anything that happens, I mean, like, holy shit, guys. If you live in Florida, I have an opportunity for you. If you want to earn $100,000, let me know.
Putting a hit on somebody during a live stream is insane, and it's an obvious reason for a ban. And yet, it took a couple of days and people calling for a ban for him finally to receive one. As fucked up as this is, I personally think he went too high with that offer. No offense to Destiny, I know he's worthy of racking up a pretty high bounty. But the reason being that months earlier, prior to her ban, Denims put a much cheaper hit on Asmongold.
Listen, I'll up the number, okay? 30K to anyone who will make this dipshit disappear and make Eve's breasts bigger. Okay, you have to do both.
And to nobody's surprise at all, Denims was never banned for this. But she was banned later on over the TwitchCon panel stuff. All these streamers going full bananas mode has only helped prove Twitch's biggest critics right. You have Torres writing an official congressional letter to Twitch, as well as Amazon, their parent company. In this letter, Torres blames Hasan Piker specifically for the amplification of anti-Semitism on Twitch. He goes on to describe most of the things Hasan has said and done that we just covered. The ADL also continues to put out tweets mentioning Twitch, like commending Twitch for recent change to their ad policy, making Zionist a slur, as well as calling out Hasan for minimizing the violence that occurred in Amsterdam. As bad as all this sounds, not much has come from it. A congressional letter doesn't really mean anything, unless you're being called to explain yourself in front of Congress directly. And changing the rules to make Zionist a slur is pointless, considering that 1, nobody had an issue with the word necessarily. What people had an issue with was the misuse of the word by using it against people who advocate for, let's say, a two-state solution, or against Jews in general. And 2, it's pointless because this whole situation stems from the fact that they haven't been upholding their own rules. And they definitely don't plan on upholding this one.
We all know why people go to Hooters. They don't go there for the wings. Does that mean outside of Hooters, you can start sexually harassing these women? Do you really think that? Because if you do, I'm really concerned for you. Do you think that that would be normal to do? Because unfortunately, it's neither normal nor is it okay by Twitch standards. It is still sexual harassment. All right? Now, if the Hooter girl was a Zionist, I'd be morally confused. No more using the word Zionist, chat. No more using it. Bad faith actors.
Instead of holding their creators accountable, specifically Hasan Piker, who, as of yet, has not been banned from Twitch, they're willing to do anything except for that, including changing the terms of service. But due to all the pressure on Twitch by people like Dan Saltman, who has spent the past couple months communicating with sponsors, this has led Twitch to pausing completely all ads being run on Hasan's channel. Twitch's idea here is that maybe if they just stop running ads on controversial streamers' content, then the advertisers could remain on the platform and just run ads on normal streams. They try to do this workaround by decreasing ad revenue paid out to streamers using certain stream tags like politics and election. Here's the stock guy explaining that there's no Adpocalypse and that his decrease in revenue is due to him having a politics-related tag.
I went to my tags, and my tags were, my normal tags. But I had a tag that said election because I had covered the market's reaction to the election. Not politics, not personal politics, not policy, just the market's reaction. And so Friday before stream, I decided to take that tag off. I took off veteran as well, just in case. And guess what? It came back. So there's not a fucking adpocalypse. I never said there was an adpocalypse. I said that I'm being affected by other people's shit. And so what did I do? I took off the election tag, and guess what happened? My money came back. So sorry, drama frogs who were like, this is an adpocalypse. No, it's not. No, it's not. It is a advertising thing that is happening with a specific subset on the platform, and I took it off, and guess what? I'm back.
But other streamers apparently have suffered a major decrease in ad revenue despite not discussing politics or even using politics-related tags when streaming.
Go to my Twitch dashboard, right? This month, and I noticed that I was receiving $0 in ad money this whole month while running ads this month, right? Well, I ended up messaging my Twitch rep, who I'm not going to name, and I asked her, I said, hey, this has to be a mistake. I go to my activity, and it says that I'm running 180-second ads every 8 minutes, which is strange, right? I see it. It's on my activity. It's on my activity. I messaged her. I say, hey, do you mind looking into this for me? This is a little strange. She came back and told me that essentially I got demonetized because I had Iran as a tag. As you guys know, I'm Iranian, and I've had that same tag for about 2 years. And as you guys know, I don't speak about politics. I don't come on here and speak about politics. I'm actually very curious to know if streamers like Hasan Abi have been demonetized for talking about politics. But now I'm not gonna sit here and blame Twitch necessarily because I don't know the facts, but I do know that she said that it was the advertisers who have been steering away from quote-unquote politics, I think because of the election. So I guess advertisers didn't want to run ads on my stream because I had Iran as a tag. I thought it was a little weird. I would have appreciated, though, if Twitch probably reached out beforehand and told me, hey, it's politics season, it's election season. If you want to make money on ads, you should probably take this out. I didn't receive any message. So the whole month of November when I was streaming and whatnot, and I was running my ads properly and it was on my activity, I made no money. I got demonetized because I simply had Iran as a tag.
The worst part is, none of this was necessary. Twitch should have just held their creators accountable on their own and actually try to put a stop to the insane behavior and extremist content running rampant on their platform. Instead, leadership at Twitch is willing to change their own rules and allow advertisers to pull from the platform, and in the end, other streamers who are following the rules end up paying the price for Twitch's incompetence. As of November 21st, they've even gone ahead and banned Dan Saltman from Twitch for extreme harassment. This could be because of his crusade against Twitch or simply for talking to other streamers on the platform about these issues, promising to expose Twitch. Either way, like Doc's ban, Twitch never really tells you exactly what you did to get banned. And despite it being public knowledge that companies are pulling out from Twitch, they seem pretty adamant on not making any changes or admitting fault. Dan Clancy still has not responded to demands that he step down as CEO. In fact, he's not only put out tweets regarding statements that Twitch has already made, including a tweet where he was too incompetent to even remove tweet copy, which indicates that this was probably a statement that lawyers or Amazon execs had him put out. Not to mention that during live Q&As, anyone in chat asking about the anti-Semitism or allegations against Twitch get banned.
We got a special episode of Ethan Klein crashing out solo on his own, featuring none other than Dan Clancy, the CEO of Twitch. Now, these two people were conducting a Q&A, I believe, yesterday or the day before, where I think this is his first time coming online since all the anti-Semitism broke. It's been about 40 days or something. So he comes on here and he's going to be doing some Q&As. But during the course of this here, from chatters, let's take a look. Here it is. Now, these weren't even phrased like rudely. These were phrased like fairly respectfully. I mean, not very respectfully. And these people were permanently banned. Why do you not ban streamers that show terror propaganda on your website? It's explicitly not allowed in TOS, but if you're big enough, you let them get away with it. Permanently banned. Another user asked, do you care to comment about the ADL and anti-Semitism on Twitch? That, by the way, completely fairly written. Not judgmental, not loaded. They were permanently banned for asking that question. It's kind of what everybody's been talking about. So if we're going to be doing a Q&A, you know, let's not ignore the elephant in the room here, people. You know what I mean?
Critics of Twitch, like Ethan Klein, are still pushing for some sort of change on Twitch, recently bringing attention to another streamer who got banned for 2 weeks for open anti-Semitic comments.
Now here is one of Twitch's largest Arabic streamers. He has 1.7 million followers. His name is Rakanu Live. Here's his channel. Now, unfortunately, he doesn't have VODs, so I can't show you. But I do have lots of stuff saved. He was actually recently faced a 2-week ban for during a streaming. During a stream, he was saying stuff like "fuck you, Jew" and "I love Hitler." show you a preview of what this guy's been talking about on social media. On October, 4 days after October 7th, he said, my eyes are full, God burned the Jews. Sure, he means Zionists. He must just mean Zionists. Here's another one. God cursed the Jews everywhere. Oh, well, okay. That one's a little harder to defend because he says, God, see how I said I love that person who worries them, and this one is happy and says they deserve it. God damn the Jews everywhere. It's all in Arabic, so it's a little bit tricky. So if he says, God damn the Jews everywhere, that's kind of hard because they're talking about everywhere. Is not just Israel, right? You would agree with that, Dan?
And the stream that he supposedly got banned for.
You pig, you
Jew pig.
I'm you pig,
You Jew.
trash, you trash.
You trash Jew scum. You can actually kind of hear him. I know this because it's from the original VOD, but this is the best we could do in finding what survived.
I love the best.
Hitler. Etc. Etc. It's just he's having a gamer moment, which is fair, That's just what we do when us gamers get heated.
We get a glimpse into his audience.
See, here's his community. I don't know if you guys notice something here that's somewhat common, a commonality here, but I'll just scroll. Let's see. Okay, picture of Hitler. This one's sensitive. Let me click that. Oh, it's just a picture of Hitler. Okay. Now, what did he have to say about it? Here's his response. Again, this has all been erased and in Arabic, so I'm doing my best here. But he said, in translation, even if 100 years pass, may God curse the Jews above every land and beneath every sky, you pigs. He said, he's just talking about Zionists. And then this happened after everything I just showed you. Twitch decided to give me a chance and reduce the ban by 50%. But there's a test I have to pass. And with these kind of questions, I don't think I'll pass. It turns out, however, though, he did pass because his 2-week suspension was reduced to 1 week. So thank you to Twitch for going lenient on this guy who was clearly just misunderstood and taken out of context.
He even mentions what Dan Clancy's thoughts might be on the controversy.
I have a friend who called me with an anecdote. This is a big creator, streamer, someone that I trust who has no reason to lie to me. They were a part of a event that got canceled. And he got a call from Dan Clancy, who says, I'm so sorry. We have to be super careful right now with brand friendliness. And the reason that we're doing this, and he apparently name dropped me because people like Ethan Klein, who don't actually care about anti-Semitism, are cynically going after our platform. So there's Dan Clancy, who apparently thinks that I'm doing this, that I'm burned half my audience just for fun, and that I don't, and that I think he doesn't think it's actually a problem.
There is, however, a more recent plot twist, which is completely unrelated to any of the criticisms towards Twitch that we just covered. Apparently, Elon Musk is suing Twitch for allegedly conspiring to boycott ads. Although, I'm not sure much is going to come from this because I think his claim is completely baseless. It's apparent to anybody with 2 eyes and more than 2 brain cells that once Elon Musk bought Twitter, he turned it into a Nazi/right-wing propaganda machine. This is what led advertisers to leave the platform in droves, including an interview where he basically tells them to.
You hope, don't advertise. You don't want them to advertise? No. What do you mean? If somebody's going to try to blackmail me with advertising, blackmail me with money, go f*** yourself. But go f*** yourself. Is that clear?
So, with all this information presented, what's the final takeaway from all this? Where do we go from here? What needs to be done to start getting things moving in the right direction? Well, I think we need to start by admitting that there has been a rise in anti-Semitism, and not just the Groyper kind. Lately, it feels like anti-Semitism has been somewhat normalized. And I think one of our biggest issues as a society is relying on other people, like political pundits, to feed us our beliefs and our talking points. It's easy to buy in what these people have to say, because what they stand for the most part, sounds good. But it becomes an issue when you can't tell whether or not what these people are telling you is true, or whether it's based on some bigoted sentiment. For the record, I'm not expecting much from immature Twitch streamers. I'm sure as hell not expecting anything from their parasocial and toxic audiences. I do, however, blame Dan Clancy, because at the end of the day, he is responsible for the failures of the company. Especially when, as the CEO, he's willing to sink Twitch's ad revenue instead of enforcing TOS against his favorite streamers. Instead of developing parasocial relationships with your streamers and allegedly choking your chicken to them, maybe focus on improving the company that had to lay off hundreds of its employees this year. Maybe consider the jobs of the people who are still employed there when making decisions that are hurting the company. Just a thought. Now, I don't know if anything will change at Twitch. I don't know if a year from now they'll just recover. All I know is...
Dan Clancy, step the fuck down, you piece of anti-Semitic shit.